The lines starting with semicolon are comments, and you can see that in a typical assembly program, nearly every line of code is accommodated by a comment. This is due to the fact that the nature of assembly is very terse and cryptic syntax, mixing these directives and instructions, and so it's quite advisable to keep a comment regarding parts of the program, and explanation like a pseudocode of the logic of the program is just absolutely important to keep the assembly programs clean. So basically your job is to write the instructions but also write an appropriate comment next to it. All source lines that begin with dot, like this, all these periods in front, create a directive or specify a directive. Various directives exist for various reasons. Here we have a number of them. 386 is asking the MASM to recognize Intel 386 instruction set, which is sort of like a minimal instruction set of x86 platform. Flat memory model is the one that we discussed in one of our prior slides, that tells the assembler that all of the memory space is going to be placed in one single 4 GB huge segment. The constant data segment specifies location of constant data. Stack directive specifies that we want to be able to use a certain type of stack, and 100 hexadecimal, by the way, H is a hexadecimal suffix for hexadecimal literals in Microsoft Macro Assembler. So this one specifies that we want to use a minimum stack, minimalistic stack with just 1 KB size. The data directive specifies where the initialized data segment begins, and we can place our, this is like a location for global variables that are both read and write, and this is the location right here where read-only data will be placed. Like for example, string literals would go into this segment. And the code is the code segment. So you can mix those things any way you like, in any order. And inside the code statement, we have a procedure. So notice that the syntax of the procedure is that there's a this keyword procedure, and there's also end procedure marking the ending of the procedure. Procedure has the name, and you begin to recognize that this is the procedure that apparently corresponds to a main function or main method in Java program, or main function in C and C++ program. However, because of the calling convention, the standard calling convention of this function, it's prefixed with underscore, which is the name decoration that we use explicitly in this code. So anyways, this should be found by the linker to be our main procedure. Okay, so let's build this. And once again, just watch out for debug x86. So make sure that you're not using x64. If you try 64, the syntax will fail miserably. We're going to be writing all the code for x86, which is 32-bit platform. So there could be debug or release build. But most of the time, because we want the helper of the debugger, so we'll be just very likely building debug x86 all the time. So build, and here we go. So it gets built. Now let's take a look at the debug subfolder of our project, right? So this is debug subfolder, and here it is. This is our executable, and you can see the small size of it is just 9 KB in size with all of the operating system decorations of it, and it's also a debug version of this executable. Save this entire solution, and also I want to show you also that if you're building your project and for some reason if you're getting an error message like this, this is the linker error, that module is unsafe for safe exception handling. What you need to do is you need to go to project properties and make sure that you look at the linker properties. And here it is allowing me to choose platforms like debug. For instance, if we're trying to fix it for debug, make sure that you switch to configuration debug and active Win32, which is x86, and specify in the advanced section at the bottom of this list that you need to say that you don't want to specify this image to have safe exception handling like this, and apply this. So once again, this is a no, a linker advanced exception handlers no. Okay, and now I will also, so I'll just click OK, just see if this error disappears. So normally we'll clean solution after making changes in the project settings, then build, and you can see that the problem goes away. This warning is not important. I'm not going to worry about this one. Now if I switch to the release build, now notice that sometimes you can also be for some reason be in the default x64 64-bit configuration. This is wrong. This is not the proper source code for 64-bit assembly, so you need to make sure that this is x86. Okay, release x86, try to build again. You see I'm getting the same error message, so I intentionally change my settings to show you these possibilities. Sometimes when you use the results of a project configuration wizard, you may start getting these. So you go to project properties once again, linker advanced. Now notice that I switched to the release, but this configuration has not changed in this wizard, so I need to say active release or release, doesn't matter, right? And make sure that this is also says 32-bit platform for the linker, and see this yes for safe exception handlers. We don't have any of this here, so we want to change that to a no. Okay, and this is for the linker, and then make sure that you also go to Microsoft Macro Assembler properties, and also in the advanced section it also has the default use safe exception handlers right here. So let's just try first with this default setting just to see what happens. And if I say build, this time again it builds fine. So if you look at our project week 5, right here, release, this is the release build of our program, 3 kilobytes in size, and our debug build is 2 kilobytes in size now, after I removed these attempts to introduce safe exception handling. So these are the things that I wanted to highlight for you in terms of make sure that our project configuration is done correctly. So just watch out for when you go to project properties, right? Just watch out for the configuration that you want to change. Basically, we're working with debug and release, so pick this one up and make sure that you Microsoft Macro Assembler Advanced use safe exception handlers. So we can just say no, don't do it. Okay, so this is the mode in which we're operating. So once again, apply and then build clean. Okay, and then it should be fine. So this runs fine now. Okay, so these are the options, the project options that may be important for your setting.